Easy Explain, The Souls of Black Folk by W.E.B. DuBois, The Meaning of Progress. Again, The Meaning of Progress, that's a chapter title from the book by DuBois. Again, I'm just going through a few chapters at a time, taking out some thematic quotes I think I'll play into that one. So let's get into it. Starting off with the brief definition of what progress looks like for DuBois. He says, "My log schoolhouse was gone. In its place stood progress, and progress, I understand, is necessarily ugly." So here's really pointing out that progress for one is not necessarily progress for the other, at least at the time in 1903. You can have progress being defined one way, and in other ways it's really despairing and detrimental and leaving other people not going along with the flow of that progress. So let's continue, dig a little deeper here. What does it look like for Du Bois to measure progress? So he says, "My journey was done, and behind me lay hill and dale, and life and death. How shall man measure progress? There where the dark-faced Josie lies. How many heartfuls of sorrow shall balance a bushel of wheat? How hard a thing is life to the lowly, and yet how human and real. And all this life and love and strife and failure, is it the twilight of nightfall or the flush of some faint dawning day?" So here he's looking at, clearly there's been a lot of loss in the face of this progress, right? There's definitely two sides to this. And we can't just blanket it out and call it progress. And he even himself is trying to figure out, is this, are things only going to get worse, or is maybe things just have to get worse before they get better? So I think he is even still trying to figure out how we're to measure, sociological progress on a large scale for everybody. Let's look at some definitions of right and wrong here, right? Or considering the two, how different they are, where there's overlap. Kind of goes along with this theme of how to measure progress, right? What is right and what is wrong. So Du Bois says here that it is a hard thing to live, haunted by the ghost of an untrue dream, to see the wide vision of empire fade into real ashes and dirt, to feel the pang of the conquered and yet know that with all the bad that fell on one black day, something was vanquished that deserved to live, something killed that injustice had not dared to die, to know that with the right that triumphed something of wrong, something sordid and mean, something less than the broadest and the best. So it goes on here a little bit, but just to pause here, right? We're starting to see this, again, this theme of, if you do have something that's being right, this abstract idea of right, there's also something that's going to be wrong, right? To the antithesis of that. He's saying, it's how do you separate the two? And he goes on here, there's a little bit more to this quote. Du Bois continues, says, "All this is bitter hard, and many a man and city and people have found in it excuse for sulking and brooding and listless waiting." Just to wrap that one up there. So let's look at what Du Bois considers to be the way forward amidst all this. So he says, "Work and wealth are the mighty levers to lift this old, new land. Thrift and toil and saving are the highways to new hopes and new possibilities." Starting to get a little more optimistic here, actually. Let's look for a way forward. And that brings us to education, one of the great levelers, right? So here, Du Bois says that the function of the university is not simply to teach breadwinning or to furnish teachers for the public schools or to be a center of polite society. It is above all to be the organ of that fine adjustment between real life and the growing knowledge of life, an adjustment which forms the secret of civilization. We're going to get back to education in just a bit. He's going to continue on that, but let's put education in light of the painful pull of progress. You got to have progress. It's not always going to feel good, though. So he's going to say that in human affairs is more often a pull than a push, surging forward of the exceptional man and the lifting of his duller brethren slowly and painfully to his vantage ground. Let's tie it all back with the goal of education here, right? Let's look at where the ends are here. So again, he comes back to education, and Du Bois says that finally, beyond all this, education must develop men above our modern socialism, and out of the worship of the mass must persist and evolve that higher individualism which the centers of culture protect. There must come a loftier respect for the sovereign human soul that seeks to know itself and the world about it, that seeks a freedom for expansion and self-development, that will love and hate and labor in its own way, untrammeled alike by old and new. Right, so this is a great goal, right? We really got to push education. Through education, maybe we could find this more level progress for all. Huge theme here, maybe this is how we even measure progress, is the education that we can offer, how many are educated. So big theme for Du Bois here. For now, hope it helps.